The siren wailed like a banshee in the night, slicing through the hum of my tires on the rain-slicked I-90. I slammed on the brakes, heart jackhammering against my ribs, as blue and red lights painted the inside of my beat-up Honda like a fever dream. What the hell? I wasn't speeding, okay? Maybe a little. But who drives the speed limit at 1 a.m.? After a 12-hour shift at Vostek, the cruiser door swung open, and out stepped Victoria Hale, my CO. The woman who just chewed me out in a boardroom full of suits that morning for missing a deadline. She wasn't in her power armor of pencil skirts and Louboutins tonight. No. She was in jeans that hugged her legs like a second skin, a leather jacket zipped against the Chicago chill, and God help me, a badge glinting on her belt. Off-duty cop? The secret she buried deeper than her quarterly reports? Elise, she said, her voice cutting through the downpour like a knife. Low and ragged. Not the polished timbre that commanded millions. Get out of the car. We need to talk. Now. I gripped the wheel until my knuckles ached, the wipers slapping futilely against the storm. Talk? After she pulled me over like some perp on a bad cop show? But those green eyes of hers, flickering under the cruiser's flashers, held something I'd never seen in the office, raw, unfiltered fear. And damn if it didn't pull me out into the rain like a moth to a flame. The downpour hit me like a slap from Lake Michigan itself, soaking my blouse in seconds, turning my curls into a frizzy halo. Victoria stood there, unmoving, water streaming down her face, carving paths through the mascara she'd probably forgotten to wipe off after whatever shift from hell she just clocked. What the fuck? Victim. Hale, stammered, my southern drawl slipping out thicker under stress. A remnant from the Georgia roots I'd tried to bury when I clawed my way to this windy city grind. You can't just. I can. And I did, she interrupted, stepping closer. Close enough that I could smell her, leather and rain and that faint jasmine from her office, the one that lingered in conference rooms long after she'd swept out. Her hand shot out, grabbing my wrist. Not rough, but urgent, like she was anchoring herself to me. Because if I don't stop you right now, Elise, everything we've built, everything I feel, it's all going up in flames. And it's my fault. My breath caught. We built? Feel. The words hung there, heavier than the storm clouds swallowing the skyline. In the 6 months since I joined Vostek as a junior analyst, Victoria Hale had been the untouchable goddess of the C-suite, 35. Sharp as a stiletto, with a reputation for turning startups into empires and breaking hearts without a backward glance. Whispers in the break room painted her as the ice queen who'd betted half the venture capitalists in the loop before vanishing into her penthouse solitude. But me? Elise Carter, 28. Fresh off a messy divorce from a guy who decided my ambition was unfeminine, I was just the black girl from the South with an econ degree and dreams bigger than my student loans, crunching numbers and stealing glances at her during all-hands meetings. And now this. Pulled over on a deserted stretch of highway, the city lights smearing into neon blurs behind us. Her thumb brushed the pulse point on my wrist, and electricity shot up my arm. Jesus, was this happening? Or was it the adrenaline from nearly hydroplaning into a guardrail? Tell me, I whispered, rain dripping from my lashes, my voice barely audible over the thunder rumbling like an aftershock. What secret could possibly? She let go like I'd burned her, turning away to rake a hand through her sodden auburn bob. Not here. Follow me. There's a diner off the next exit, Elsie's. Open all night. No questions. Her cruiser idled like a beast waiting to pounce, and she slid back in without another word, leaving me staring at taillights that blurred through the sheets of water. I should have driven straight home to my shoebox apartment in Wicker Park, blasted some Beyoncé, and pretended this was a nightmare born from too much Red Bull. But curiosity or something stupider, like that flutter in my chest every time she said my name in a memo, had me tailing her through the storm. The diner glowed like a beacon when we pulled in, its neon sign flickering Elsie's, home of the heartburn special against the black void. Inside, it smelled of grease and coffee strong enough to strip paint, the kind of place where truckers nursed hangovers and night owls nursed regrets. We slid into a vinyl booth by the window, the rain drumming a frantic rhythm on the glass. A waitress with a name tag reading Barb, and tattoos snaking up her arms poured us coffee without asking, eyeing Victoria's badge like it was a ticket to free refills. Rough night, Vic, Barb drawled, her voice pure Southside gravel. You have no idea, Victoria muttered, shrugging off her jacket to reveal a fitted black tee that clung to her like sin. Close. Without the boardroom armor, she looked human. Freckles dusted her nose like forgotten stars, and there was a faint scar above her left eyebrow, the kind you get from a bar fight or a bad fall, stories she never told. I wrapped my hands around the mug, the heat seeping into my chilled fingers. Start talking. You pull me over like I'm in a high-speed chase, drop some cryptic bullshit about flames and feelings, and expect me to what? Sip Joe and pretend you're not my boss who's about to fire me for mouthing off. Her laugh was bitter, like she'd swallowed shards of glass. Fire you, Elise? If it were that simple. She trailed off, staring into her coffee as if it held the script to her confession. Thunder cracked outside, rattling the silverware, and for a split second, the diner went dark before the generator kicked in. In that flicker, her eyes met mine, green as the Emerald City, haunted. I'm not just your CEO, she said finally, voice steadying like she'd rehearsed this in her head 1,000 times. I'm a detective with the CPD. Undercover. Mostly white-collar stuff, embezzlement, insider trading. Vostek, it's my cover. Or it was. My jaw dropped. Coffee forgotten. You're shitting me, Vostek. The darling of Silicon Prairie, valued at $500 million. Was her alibi? The woman who'd greenlit my promotion last month, who'd lingered after that team-building retreat in the dunes, handing me a beer with a smile that felt too personal. That was all a front? Not shitting you. She leaned forward, elbows on the scarred Formica table, close enough that I could see the pulse jumping in her throat. And the secret? It's bigger than that. There's a mole in the company, someone skimming funds, feeding intel to competitors. I've been chasing leads for months. And tonight I tailed you because your IP address popped up in a data breach alert. Anomalous logins. Elise. From your workstation. The world tilted. Me? The mole? I'd kill for Vostek, hell. I'd stayed late more nights than I could count, fueled by takeout pho and the quiet thrill of her praise in emails. That's impossible, I hissed, heat rising in my cheeks, not just anger, but shame, because part of me had wondered if she'd noticed me beyond spreadsheets. I didn't. I know. Her hand covered mine then. Deliberate. Her skin warm against my cold. The touch lingered. Electric. And I didn't pull away. That's why I stopped you. Because if the feds get wind, or worse, if Harlan Voss finds out, Harlan Voss, the founder, the silver fox with a temper that could curdle milk. Rumors swirled he had mob ties from his Chicago roots, back when tech was just gangsters with laptops. It won't just tank the company. It'll destroy lives. including yours. And mine. Her thumb traced a slow circle on my knuckle. And the air thickened, charged like the storm outside. Elise. There's more. Something I shouldn't say. But I can't hold it anymore. These past months, watching you, your fire in meetings, the way you fight for every decimal point, it's not just professional. I think I'm falling for you. The confession hung there, steam rising from our mugs like ghosts. Falling for me? The ice queen. The undercover cop. Unraveling over little old me? My heart stuttered. A traitorous warmth blooming in my chest despite the accusation still stinging. But before I could respond, her phone buzzed on the table, a text lighting up the screen, lead confirmed. Warehouse. 2 a.m. Don't fuck this up. Hail. She snatched it away. But not before I glimpsed the sender, J. Harlan. Harlan Voss. Her eyes widened, fear flashing raw. We have to go. Now. We burst out of Elsie's into the maelstrom. The rain a solid wall now, turning the parking lot into a shallow lake. My Honda coughed to life beside her cruiser, and I followed her taillights like a shadow, weaving through the industrial sprawl south of the city. The warehouse district loomed ahead, hulking skeletons of brick and steel, relics from when Chicago made its bones on slaughterhouses and steel mills, now ghosts haunted by graffiti and the occasional rave. Victoria's text had come from Harlan Voss himself, which meant this wasn't just a lead, it was a trap waiting to spring. My mind raced faster than the wipers. Falling for me? The words looped like a glitchy playlist, equal parts thrill and terror. I'd buried my own secrets deep, nights scrolling through queer-lit forums, wondering what it would feel like to kiss someone who saw the world like I did. Fierce and flawed. Marcus had called it a phase when I'd confessed my curiosities over cheap wine. He'd laughed it off until I filed for divorce, packing my life into a U-Haul and fleeing Atlanta for the anonymity of the Midwest. Vostek had been my fresh start, numbers a safe harbor from the mess of hearts. And Victoria? She'd been the horizon, distant, dazzling, untouchable. Until tonight. She pulled up to a chain-link fence rattling in the wind, the warehouse beyond it a black maw swallowing floodlights. I killed my engine, stepping out into ankle-deep puddles, my loafers squelching like accusations. What's the play? Asked, voice steady despite the adrenaline buzzing like neon in my veins. Victoria rounded the cruiser, holstering a Glock I'd somehow missed earlier. Her leather jacket zipped tight. You stay here. This could get ugly, Harlan's tying off loose ends. And if he's calling me in, she trailed off, jaw set. But her eyes betrayed her, green pools edged with desperation. She cupped my face then, rain sluicing between us, her touch gentle as a prayer. If I don't come back in 20, drive. Don't look. And Elise, whatever happens, know that what I said back there, it's real. Has been since you walked into that interview. All fire and no fear. Her lips brushed my forehead, soft as a sigh. And then she was gone, slipping through the fence like smoke. I pressed against the chain link, heart in my throat, watching her silhouette melt into the shadows. Minutes ticked by 5. 10, the storm a relentless roar drowning out everything but my pulse. What if she was wrong? What if I was the leak? Framed by some office snake jealous of my quick climb? The thought twisted like a knife. Betrayal was a language I knew too well. From Marcus's affairs to the aunties back home who'd whispered I was too much for any man. A muffled crack split the night gunshot. Then another. I froze, bile rising, until shouts erupted, harsh and guttural. Headlights pierced the gloom from a side alley, tires screeching as a black SUV barreled toward the fence. Smashed through, chain link shrieking like a dying animal, and skidded to a halt feet from me. Door flew open, and Harlan Voss tumbled out, 60-something, silver hair wild, blood blooming on his crisp white shirt like a Rorschach test. "Elise," he rasped, clutching his side, eyes wild with the clarity of a man staring down the barrel. "Get me out, Hale's gone rogue. She's the mole. Girl. Been bleeding the company dry for her cop buddies. Lies. It had to be. But doubt slithered in, cold and insidious. Victoria's confession. Her touch. Had it all been a play to throw me off? To make me the patsy? Harlan grabbed my arm, nails digging in, his breath a wheeze of copper and fear. "Help me, and I'll make you rich. CFO by Christmas." But her? She's poison. Another shot rang out, and Harlan jerked, crumpling to the gravel with a wet thud. Behind him, Victoria emerged from the warehouse door, gun lowered, face a mask of grim resolve. Rain washed the blood from her hands, but not the guilt from her eyes. "Elise," she called, voice breaking. "It wasn't supposed to. You shot him." The words tore from me, raw as the wound in my gut. Betrayal crashed over me like the waves on Navy Pier, the kind that leaves you gasping. The woman I'd started to dream about, the one who'd cracked my walls with a single vulnerable glance, she'd played me. The company. Everything. She holstered her weapon, stepping over Harlan's body like it was debris, her boots splashing through puddles stained red. He was the leak. Elise. Skimming millions, laundering through shell core tied to the old outfit. I had proof, recordings, transfers. He pulled the gun first. Her voice cracked on the last word. And up close, I saw the tremor in her hands, the way her chest heaved not just from the run, but from the weight of it all. And me? The IP logs? Was that real? Or just another string to pull? I backed against my car, the metal cold through my soaked clothes, tears hot on my cheeks mingling with rain, with rage. "Real," she whispered, stopping inches away, close enough to touch but worlds apart. "Someone hacked your machine, probably Harlan's IT guy. Covering tracks. I traced it tonight. That's why I followed you. To warn you. To protect." She reached for me, but I flinched, and the hurt in her eyes was a fresh cut. Protect? By lying? By making me think? I choked on the words, the almost kiss still burning on my skin. "Falling for you." Bullshit. Or was it? Her gaze held mine, dripped bare. No CO polish, no cop armor, just Victoria, vulnerable and veined with the same fears I'd hidden. Sirens wailed in the distance, closing in like Judgment Day. Backup. Or clean up. "Elise. Please," she begged, voice a threat. I never lied about this. And then, reckless as the storm, she closed the gap, her lips crashing into mine, desperate, tasting of salt and storm and secrets spilled. For a heartbeat, I melted, hands fisting in her jacket, the world narrowing to the heat of her. The way she kissed like she was memorizing me, like losing this would break her. But reality bit hard. I shoved her back, gasping. "You don't get to do that. Not now. Not after. The sirens grew louder. Red and blue painting the lot in hellish strobes. She nodded, stepping away, resolve hardening her features. Go. I'll handle this. Tell them whatever, you saw nothing. A ghost of a smile. But call me. When it's safe. Because I'm not done fighting for us. The word lingered as I peeled out. Tires hydroplaning on blood and rain. The warehouse shrinking in my rearview. Chicago swallowed me whole. Skyscrapers looming like judgmental elders. But my mind was a whirlwind. Harlan's dying plea. Victoria's kiss. The secret that bound us tighter than chains. By dawn. The news hit: Vostek exec gunned down in botched robbery. CEO Hale hailed as hero for intervening off-duty. My apartment felt like a cage. Phone blowing up with HR voicemails about emergency meetings. Colleagues texting shock emojis. I curled on the couch, replaying her lips on mine. The betrayal twisting into something sharper, longing, laced with loss. 2 days later. A knock shattered the silence. Not the door, my heart. There she stood. In jeans and a hoodie. No badge. No blazer, just Victoria. Holding a greasy bag from Elsie's. Heartburn special, she said softly. Stepping inside uninvited. Figured you'd need it after the shitstorm. I should have slammed the door. Instead, I let her in. The scent of bacon and regret filling the air. We ate in silence at first. Cross-legged on the floor. The city humming below like a distant lullaby. Then, haltingly, the floodgates opened. Her stories of going undercover at 25. Faking a marriage to a mark in Philly. The loneliness that carved her hollow. I swore off real after that, she admitted. Picking at her eggs. Too risky. But you made me want to risk it all. My turn, the divorce. The nights I'd lain awake wondering if love was just a southern myth. Pretty as magnolias but thorny as briars. I thought I was straight-edge boring, I confessed. Voice small. Until you looked at me like I was the only equation that mattered. Her hand found mine again. Tentative. And this time I didn't pull away. We talked till dusk. Secrets unspooling like thread from a bobbin. Hers of badges and betrayals. Mine of hidden heartaches. Harlan's death? Clean. Ruled self-defense. The mole exposed. Funds frozen. Vostek would limp on. But under new blood, hers. She wanted it. As the sun dipped, painting my walls gold, she leaned in. Slower this time. Eyes asking permission. I nodded. And our kiss was a revelation, soft. Searching. Tasting of second chances and the salt of tears we'd both shed. Deepen. Hands exploring with the caution of survivors. Her fingers tracing the curve of my jaw. Mine tangling in her hair. We tumbled to the rug. Clothes shedding like old skins. Bodies fitting like puzzle pieces long lost. Her touch was reverent. Mapping me with whispers. Beautiful. Mine. And I arched into her. Finding home in the press of skin. The rhythm of breath sinking like a shared pulse. After. Tangled in sheets that smelled of us. She traced lazy patterns on my thigh. This could ruin us, she murmured. Echoing the secret that started it all. The optics CEO and analyst. Cop and civilian. Let it, I replied. Bold as the girl who'd driven through storms. We've got nothing left to lose but each other. Weeks blurred into a fragile new normal. Chicago's relentless churn mirroring the one in my chest. Vostek reeled, stock dipped. Headlines screamed scandal at the summit. But Victoria steered the ship with the same steel she'd flashed in that warehouse. By day, we were professionals, MS. Hale in the corner office. Me at my desk buried in audits. Our emails crisp and coded. Q3 projections attached. Let's discuss alignment over coffee. A wink to the diner dates we'd stolen in the dead of night. But the undercurrent pulled strong. Stolen moments in the supply closet. Her pinning me against reams of paper with a kiss that tasted of urgency. Lazy Sundays in my apartment. Her head on my lap as I read aloud from Audre Lorde. Her fingers drumming rhythms on my knee. She was 35 to my 28. Worlds of experience in the lines around her eyes. But in bed, we were equals, exploring with the hunger of the newly converted. Her confidence yielding to my intuition. Bodies learning the language of touch. You're undoing me, Carter, she'd gasp. Nails raking my back as I kissed trails down her spine. And I'd laugh, breathless, because she was remaking me too, queer and unapologetic. The girl from Georgia blooming under Midwestern skies. Yet shadows lingered. Harlan's ghost haunted the boardroom. His empty chair of vacuum sucking in whispers. Hale's too close to the investigation, one VP muttered during a tense all hands. His eyes sliding to me like I was complicit. And I was, in a way, covering for her late nights. Fielding calls from detectives who probed too deep. Then came the leak. An anonymous email to the board. Grainy photos from that rainy night. Me and Victoria outside Elsie's. Hands linked. Her lips on my forehead. Fraternization? Or cover-up? The subject screamed. Panic hit like a sucker punch. Victoria's phone rang off the hook. Lawyers. Fairflax. Her captain barking about optics in an active case. She paced my living room that night. Wine glass trembling in her hand. Auburn hair loose and wild. This is it. Elise. They could yank my badge. Tank the company. And you got your career. I crossed to her, pulling her into my arms. Her body rigid at first, then melting against mine. Then we fight, I said, chin on her shoulder, staring out at the city lights twinkling like defiant stars. Together. No more secrets, but secrets have a way of festering. The next morning, a detective showed at my door, burly guy named Kowalski, badge heavy as judgment. MS. Carter. We need to talk about Harlan Voss. And Detective Hale. His eyes raked the apartment, lingering on the takeout from Elsie's in the trash. The photo of us on the fridge, snapped at the bean. Goofy and grinning. Sweat beaded on my neck as I brewed coffee. Stalling. What's this about? Asked. Southern lilt masking the tremor. Harlan didn't pull first, Kowalski said flatly, flipping open a notebook. Ballistics say otherwise. And Hale? She's got history, bent rules in Philly. Got a partner killed. You sure you're not in over your head? Sweetheart. Partner killed. The words landed like shrapnel. Victoria had glossed over Philly. A bad op, she'd called it. But this? I nodded through his questions. Stonewalling with half-truths. But inside, fissures cracked. That night, I confronted her in her Gold Coast penthouse, sleek lines of glass and steel. A far cry from my cozy chaos. Philly, I demanded. Arms crossed. Tell me everything. Or we're done, she deflated, sinking onto the leather sectional. The city sprawling below like a conquered kingdom. Her name was Lena, she began. Voice a whisper. Undercover together. Posing as a couple to infiltrate a ring. We were. More than that. Real. But I pushed too hard. Didn't wait for backup. Shot went wild, hers meant for the mark. She bled out in my arms. Elise. On a warehouse floor just like the other night, the parallel gutted me. Betrayal anew, not of me, but of trust. You could have died, I whispered, sinking beside her. And you'd do it again? For the job. Her green eyes, red-rimmed, searched mine. Not anymore. Not with you. She pulled a velvet box from her pocket. Inside, simple and silver. To this place. To me. If you want it. I took it. The metal cool against my palm. But doubt lingered like fog off the lake. The climax built slow. A board vote to oust her. Feds circling. That email's sender unmasked as Harlan's son. A bitter air gunning for revenge. Victoria fought in hearings. Her testimony a masterclass in poise. But cracks showed. Nightmares where she'd wake screaming Lena's name. Clinging to me like a lifeline. The night before the final inquest, we drove to the lakefront. Wind whipping off Michigan's waters. The city a constellation behind us. We walked the breakwater. Hands clasped. Her leather jacket over my shoulders. If they take it all, the job. The company, I'll walk, she vowed. Stopping to face me. Waves crashing like applause. Start over. With you. Somewhere quiet, maybe that cabin in Door County you mentioned. My heart swelled. Fears ebbing. And if they don't? Then we burn brighter. Her kiss was fierce. Salt-tinged. Hands framing my face as if I were her anchor. We made love on the sand later. Hidden by dunes. The world reduced to her whispers in my ear. I love you. Elise. Fierce and free. My responses lost in gasps. Bodies arching under stars that felt like blessings. Dawn brought vindication. Harlan's son confessed. Ballistics cleared her. The board reinstated with caveats. Discretion advised. But victory tasted bittersweet. The job had scarred her. And me by proxy. We resigned together weeks later. Her for a consulting gig. Me for grad school at U Chicago. Chasing that PhD in queer economics I dreamed of. Our life wove new threads. A brownstone in Logan Square. Weekends hiking the ravines. Her teaching me to shoot at the range safely. With backups galore. Betrayals faded to lessons. Trust earned in the quiet admissions. The way she'd hold me through my own ghosts. One rainy evening. Echoing that first night. She pulled me over on our street. Just a playful flash of headlights from her new Jeep. Secret time, she teased. Dragging me into the downpour for a kiss that promised forever. We'd ruined nothing, we'd rebuilt. In the heart of America. Two women carving space, dramatic. Emotional. Unapologetically ours. And in the end, that was the most human secret of all. Love doesn't pull you over to wreck you. Stops you. Turns you around. And points you home.